I'll tell a quick story and then I'll answer the question specifically. So years ago, I was running a technology firm and we had some marketers and PR folks come in and they said, Don, we want to talk to you about building out a thought leadership program. This is 25 years ago. And I literally laughed them out of my office. I said, I don't need thought leadership. I don't know what that is. What I need is more leads and more deals. And if you can't help me do that, I don't really know what we're talking about. And now I'm Mr. Thought Leader. The thing that I want to share is what changed. And what changed is the more that we think about growing our careers, growing our businesses, we're all targeting the same decision makers for their time and attention.
Yes.
And that appetite for information where people are being deluged with digital ads, we're being now, how do you differentiate between a video that's AI done or authentically done? All of this noise in the space. What true thought leadership does is it differentiates you because you use an education first selling mindset for you and or your firm. If you teach somebody something that they can use that makes them better, that builds trust. If you teach someone something that they can use that grows their business or their firm, they now see evidence of why listening to you, being linked with you by sharing and corresponding with you adds business value. So thought leadership, to your point, beyond social media is about how do you have a unique point of view or position that you can share with your executive audience in a manner that promotes your knowledge through sharing, not promoting your knowledge through selling. People are resistant to being sold to, but they're okay being shared with. Yep. So one of the things that I would say very simply is when we think about that 30-year career and it kind of sounding the same, right? With other folks that have a 30-year career. One of the things that people do in thought leadership that's very powerful is I learned this to solve that. So I learned to prospect in the C-suite to solve the problem of getting more meetings and attention with decision makers by doing XYZ. But you're talking about it in a learning pattern. And so there's platforms like Medium, there's platforms like Substack. There are using LinkedIn, but not a traditional post, but you can start building out LinkedIn articles. The reason that these things are important is because the moment you're recommended for an opportunity, the moment someone sees and likes your resume at a high level and you at least go into the consideration stack, people will start to do their research. And when people do their research, what are they going to find out about you? If someone does their research on me, they will find out that I've had a podcast on leadership for the last 5 years, that I have 200 articles on WRAL Tech. They'll find my book. They'll find not only a LinkedIn site, but they'll find a series of articles on LinkedIn that are specific to how I help organizations create change in a high octane business environment. It allows my reputation to be in the room before I get there. And that is a strategic advantage as a candidate, as somebody that's looking for a board role, or somebody that's looking to raise their stature inside their current organization.
Yes. That executive visibility can go internal as well.
That I was referred for an executive consulting opportunity to a $1 billion corporation, a very senior person within that organization. They received my bio in advance, was recommended it in advance. But like most executives, they don't want to be surprised. They did their research, right? And so in doing their research, the questions that I got were much more pointed. I was able to get into the conversation at hand faster because we didn't spend our hour, 20 minutes of that hour on the general, tell me about your background, tell me about where'd you go to school, all those things, which is super important unless you got one shot with that executive. Then you want the full time to not tell your narrative, but figure out how your narrative solves their business problems. And so because I have a portfolio of content about specific areas in HR operational excellence, in building leadership teams, when an executive looks to me, they've already vetted me against other people that do similar things. And now all of a sudden, because of that presence and that external validation, you're a less risky person to go and work with.
Yes.
You want to, we've all heard the phrase, or maybe I'm dating myself, but you never get fired by hiring IBM.
Yeah.
Right? Because the brand protects you.
Yes.
Right. Against making a bad decision versus taking a risk on the up and comer. Well, thought leadership allows you as the up and comer, right, to solidify yourself, not in a braggart way, but in
Right.
an information competency way that allows you to now stand above the rest, because most people aren't going to intentionally put the same amount of work into thought leadership that they should. That career portal, or if they're looking for a promotion inside the business. And I did this with one of our key performance architects a little while ago. I asked her, I said, Susie, tell me the top 5 things you think you're the best in the world at. And she went off and thought about it and different things and then wrote down what those 5 things were. I said, now
Yeah.
give me 3 sentences on why you believe that. She went off and wrote that. And then over the course of a week, we built out her thought leadership framework,
Mm,
because what you think you're the best in the world at, you're comfortable talking about.
yes.
The thing that you think you're the best in the world at, you have examples of how you've demonstrated it. Now you're comfortable talking about it, which makes you come across more confident.
Yeah.
You have examples, which makes you credible. And so now the only thing we have to focus on is distribution, because you're talking about things you've already done that you're comfortable with, and you're changing the way you distribute that knowledge. So instead of simply a resume, you are creating an article. Instead of a
Yeah.
resume only, you're creating a nice infographic. You're hiring a designer, different things like that. So in terms of what should people share, it's
Right.
things where their confidence and competency level are the highest, because those are the easiest things to get started with.
Yes.
And so don't try to match your thought leadership to trends first.
Yes.
Match it to your experience first, and then align it with language that links with the trends. For example, if you want to talk about AI, you may not be an AI expert, but you can say how I'm using AI to become a better HR professional.
Yeah.
That you can talk about. You don't have to
Exactly.
be technically proficient in all those things. You just have to link it to what you do, what you're excited about. The thing that I would extend on what you're describing is think about consistency first,
Yes.
right? What has any of us done well that hasn't taken time to learn that new competency? This isn't
So true.
different than that,
Yeah.
right? And so most people write one article and they're looking at how many views they have, versus how do I get to 5 articles and I can do them faster with higher quality. And then over time, you start to develop your own rhythm and your own lane. And then what happens is that you now are developing not just the things you want to talk about or promote, but now a process of how thought leadership is a part of your everyday landscape. The second thing that I think, and this does have to do with social, that I think it is super easy to do,
Yeah.
a way that is scary, that you feel unprepared, and you don't have to. The key is
Right.
just developing that thoughtful ear to what
Yes.
great thought leadership looks like and sounds like as you're learning to create your own.
It's so important.
Another thing that I would say is that most people, maybe you're not ready to have your own podcast or different things. Take advantage of being a guest on a podcast if you know someone that has one, right? Because what that does is it gives you that one 30, 60-minute segment in time that you then can create a lot of digital snippets from to create your own thought leadership package from one single guest appearance on a podcast.